Hello everyone, welcome to Learn with Chris Designs. Okay, so I want to quickly talk about buttons, right? Button classification, button state. Okay, so in our previous video, I showed you um, about button with components, right? So now I really want to talk about buttons. So in UI/UX designs, buttons are classified based on the visual emphasis and function, right? Typically, we have the primary, the secondary, and the tertiary. Okay, so the primary buttons are the most prominent and visually emphasized buttons, right? Often used for the main or most important actions users should take. For example, where you have a submit or buy now button, right? Typically, they have filled background to draw attention, right? Now, the secondary, on the other hand, they are used as alternative actions, right? Less visually emphasized than the primary button. You can see in the primary button you have an entire view, while for the secondary you just have kind of a skeleton, a border, or should I just call it a stroke, right? Yeah. And finally, for tertiary buttons, you mostly see this like in places where you say, just say you have a sign up, sign in, then don't have an account or forget password. Yeah, those kind of tertiary buttons, you see them there. They're less important. Yeah, and have the least visual emphasis. Okay, so that's that about the classification. Although there's still more classification, right? Further classification could include text button, icons, um, outlined or flat buttons, just each serving specific purpose in the user interface, right? Now let's go to button state. In the previous video, I also showed you guys a default and a hover state, right? If you could remember. So basically, the four, or should I say, the common states of button are the default, the hover, the active, disabled, right? There are also others, right? There are other button states. Okay, when you go to a website, you hover on the button, it has an interaction. When you click the button, it has an interaction. Sometimes when you're on a form and you're required to fill some certain details before you could submit, and you've not yet done that, you could have a disabled button. Yeah, you need to complete those stuff before you can have uh the button activate, right? So that's the default over. Yeah, so other states could be like a success notification, success button, or let's say loading as well, or what else? Let's say danger, or if there's a negative feedback, like to, you're required to fill one or two, you just show the red button, no, something like that. Yeah. So that's that about button classification and state.